G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. Robotic wives. The future of love or the end of humanity? You decide. However, the state of the current technology as of 2026, there are highly realistic androids with 3D bodies, silicon material that is skin-like. They have heating systems for warmth and actuators that mimic facial expressions, and they have the ability, well, some at least do, to read your emotions. They have advanced AI that has enabled them to recognize voices, some capable of reading your emotions, and they can be posed. Many models, however, are market research only. Companies such as Real Robotics offer customizable full body androids for personal use. Now, functions is where we get into the reality. Right now, they're primarily conversational or sex bots. The vast majority of them can only perform light duties at best, and often few repetitive tasks only. Many of them are designed to provide comfort and companionship, but starting from starting from around 7,000, some have come down, but there's a big difference in the market between a silicon doll with speech and a functional robot. So the prices will vary. A silicon doll, right now, 15% off, no code. I'm not kidding. Most of them are dropping in price. Right now, you can search the internet. Almost every robot I've seen right now is on sale. The competition is very stiff. It's a multi-billion-dollar market. There are only a handful of players, however. Alright, so, yeah, no code. But you could get a silicon doll for around $2,000. And they started only in 2020 at $7,999 and have come down heavily, as I predicted. Now, last video I said they were topping out around 140,000, but new industrial models are topping out around 175,000. These have longer the reason is as battery life increases, so does the price. As the number of tasks they can perform increases, so does the price. The power of the AI, again, ups the price. So far, the only robots coming down are the 2016 through to 2024 models. 2025 onwards, they are where you're getting into the $7,000 to $175,000 range with hyper-realistic interactive androids. Again, these are only loneliness bots, or what most would say sex companions. And if you're looking for a pure sex companion, I would rather you save your money, wait for robotics or one of the other companies to give you something more functional, because right now most of them are no different from silicon dolls, according to every research I can find on relationship interactive relationship dolls, basically. There is a big difference between a silicon doll and the interactive relationship dolls. Now, the silicon dolls are static. They're posable. They eventually wear out after a few years and just flop. They become floppy. Whereas the more expensive models, the relationship models, they do have they're basically considered a tool to replace human relationships. They are, of course, posable, but they have an AI, and that's a conversational AI, and they're tending up to the $7,000 range still. Now, social and ethical considerations. Is it a tool to combat loneliness, or is it going to exacerbate the already social problems? I think that's for you to decide, but I'll go through what I've found in my research shortly. First, I want to tell you about Empire of Elves. Empire of Elves is my book series. The Boyhood of Cade is my first book. And from there is Power Games, Into the Elsebound, and the Erotic Tales from the Empire, with more to come. And I've started creating a merchandise, empireofelves.shopify.com. That is Empire of Elves, one word, myshopify.com. Links in the description below. Now, Real Robotics, Punal is a US company that produces modular robots. These are conversational robots. They're designed for customization. Now you can create a pre-generated character or buy a fully customized model. Now, these are male and female. There's a plan when you purchase them. Now, these robots start at $20K. No, I'm not saying the Matt Damon robot reminds me of Matt Damon from World Police, but you be the judge. They clearly put more effort into the female robots, but that's a matter of personal taste. You might think that they're hyper-realistic, but they are stationary from the waist down, but fully robotic. They are modular, panelled, conversational bodies. However, they also have full body robots for meet and greets. They have some moving parts. Now, the next model up, which has allegedly been talked about on other channels, though information available, other than the fact that the starting price of a walk and talk is $125K, and they are rather coy on what these robots can actually do. We've seen the same from the Chinese, by the way. The Americans are not the only ones with AI robots. The Japanese and Chinese and the Koreans are just as coy with their products, and some of their products are not available for export. In fact, in some countries, you can't import a robot. They're still considered, some of them are considered industrial, and you need a special importer's license. There are companies that do sell and import robots in various European and other westernized nations. But there are some countries where they are banned, or except for your humanoid assist robot. There's allegedly robotic nurses, and these are they're just patient checkers for now, right? They ask how you're doing, collect the information, then go back to, and it's wired in real time to an update station where someone monitors the robot. Now, there's also Indian companies working with an English company for nurses, and other repetitive tasks. A lot of these robots are not designed to be fully, most for now, are not replaced, are not made to fully replace any person in full. And they do. If you really look into it, they look human. They can remember previous interactions. They build genuine connections through the same conversational tools humans use. Remember someone's name, remember to use their name. They remember key information about you. But that's about it. Okay? They do all the mimicry that a sociopath can do, basically. Politicians. Here you go. Bring your vision to life. Replace politicians with an interactive robot today, and most people will not tell the difference. These are ideal marketing tools. They're great to set on a display stand at a mall or even use them on an online shop or use them at trade shows, and they'll show off your brand. They can repeat speeches, rehearse them with facial movements. You can get them convincing everybody, right, that, the same speech that a normal person can give, and they're interactive, so they can answer some basic questions. They're like an FAQ with legs. However, there are corporate bots. Now, these are more expensive, and they can basically take you through interactive learning. So, goodbye school teachers. Is anyone going to regret? Not currently. I doubt it. But they can also provide light entertainment. I think there's a range of personalities and programs and stuff like that is all behind the scenes. And I think a lot of it is learning AI coding or, the language of AI and using that to train your AI jokes, light banter, corporate speak, the corporate product range, what your services are, give them spiels. Basically, a while you wait robot. Put this in your corporate waiting room and keep your corporate guests from walking out while you're engaging in tomfoolery instead of doing your job. Healthcare robots. This is where the billions in the billion-dollar industry comes in. I'm sorry, but you have silicon dolls and you have healthcare robots. They are dominating the robotic market right now. And most of them are marked, yes, companionship. Isn't it amazing? The corporate service bot is also your hand job bot. What a shock. These are home bots. These provide primarily conversations. Allegedly, they can do a bit of light dusting, puts a book back on the shelf. They're basically a boomer bot, It'll sit there, maybe be able to do a few repetitive tasks. But for now, no one has actually, and of course, at the price of some of these robots are, it's very hard to take one of these for a test drive and actually tell you up front what these bots are really capable of. So far, we have only the marketing. And a lot of AI channels right now are just replaying the marketing videos. But they are available for rent. I have seen them. They, believe it or not, at some events, they use these as ticketing bots or come this way bots. And people have actually not even noticed that at some concerts, the person giving you directions, yeah, it's an AI robot. Now, this is since 2025. People have actually taken these out for tests, but there's no one who's taken it out for a test that I can find that's actually recorded what it can do. I think there is perhaps some NDAs involved when you do buy these robots, because I think by now anyone with a robot, there should have been at least... Mate, there was Chinese robots doing TikTok dances. I've seen that. But I think that's actually from the company. Little reminder. The mergs, man. It's all about the mergs. Alright, so these are AI. Okay, so you've got AI enabled, AI powered. Now, AI powered, again, probably market speak, but for now, right, you got your love dolls, sex dolls, whatever, companion bots. They're the majority. Some are marketed as robotic wives. Some argue that they're too realistic and present not a solution to loneliness, but a reinforcement. So to trap the lonely in the cycle of loneliness instead of taking the extrovert out of the home and having them interact with real women. But the problem is, real women don't want to be approached or interacted with until it's too late. And by the time it's too late, what's the sign that a woman is too late to approach? When she starts making TikTok videos. I think right now, more people are going to ask, do you have a TikTok? Bang, no, that's a red flag. Gone. I think any woman with social media is going to start getting crossed off the list. I think as more and more robots come out, this is only stage one, but as more and more robots come out, and of course Japan is one of the developers of robotic technologies, a lot of people are going to lose their job. It's inevitable. Okay? The majority of people out there will never vote against anything that's going to cheapen their lives, as long as they think they're not going to be negatively impacted. And it's very hard to argue the negative impacts over long term, because so far we don't have that much technology we can point to and say, well, the horse and cart got rid of all these, the wagon maker, etc. But yeah, they eventually all became car makers. So the mobile phone, yeah, it put message telegram services out of business, but those telegram wires, they were replaced with phone wires, and the telegram company became a wire transfer company. So I think right now we are in the stage where we are going to have and seeing union pushback to either limit or, because they cannot ban. Okay, if you ban an AI robot in America, they'll go to India, where the Indian government, and there is companies who have done this, by the way, moved out of the US, moved out of England, and gone to India, well, predominantly because their owners were Indian anyway, but they have moved because of anti-technology, or in the case of California, the idiotic laws that these people didn't know what they were signing up for in Silicon Valley, and have now left. Of course, you do know and do understand, just like women's sexual predatory behaviour is brought into the corporate world, where they create ridiculous rules. Women predatory sexual behaviour. They create these ridiculous rules to control the relationship. Corporations do the same. They create all these ridiculous laws so that only they could navigate the marketplace, or should I say, the corporate back end, of government and regulation. So we do have social and ethical considerations other than the loneliness epidemic. That is, are people going to start ending their relationships over choosing to leave existing relationships, furthering fostering isolations, because they can be with an unrealistic goal that will always say yes, that will always agree with you, that is programmable to share your opinions. And of course, gender roles. Most of them are geared towards replacing women and traditional female jobs such as nursing, educator, caregiver for the elderly, nursing bots to monitor babies in the crib room. All your service bots. Recently on Fox, there was a service bot with the Chinese delegation of media following Trump around. During the break after the parade, they went around and looked at the robotic cafe outside of the Tiananmen Square there. Is it Tiananmen Square or People's Square outside? Actually, I think it was called People's Square. They tell me if it's on Tiananmen Road or whatever, but you got the big main square and then you got the park and below. And the park below, there's these cafes, and one of them's run by a robot. And I've seen, looking up in my research, the commercial cashier robot. It's English. It's got multiple languages, multiple programming. They themselves are a multi-billion-dollar company. They have robotic cafes, and they're looking to bring robotic cafe to America. But right now, I think what they call it bubble tea or Chinese sausage isn't very popular outside of China. And yeah, I can understand pork sausage not being popular in Islamic countries. But I think the reason why pork sausage is popular in America is it's not in a bun like the traditional hot dog. Yeah. But they are, I think, adapting to the American market. We haven't seen yet any of their, other than a few feelers they put out for, franchisees, etc. But you're looking at 175 to 275,000 for the robot, and it's the same with the robotic cafe. There's a few of them, but they are just a few of them, and right now they're not expanding either. But they are always talking about it. Now, development of such robots has sparked heated debate, particularly amongst women, and we have groups who now want these robots banned. So far, the government has met them with extreme responses, such as shut up! And see, it's one thing to ban a couple of video games for pornography and eventually bring them back under a new payment processor, basically taking a bigger cut of the pie, so basically a porn tax, and the government's happy because that's exactly what they wanted, a porn tax. What a shock, right? But yeah, and also Japan getting its own payment processor, or sort of. I think MasterCard and Visa suddenly realised that that's a big trouble, and basically doing their own alternative platform for porn. Again, greater, for a higher price, but soon you won't notice the porn censorship other than the poor payment processor saying there's a 2.5% surcharge for your pornography, or you have to buy a digital ID or whatever. So far, we haven't seen which way they're going to go, but yeah, a lot of your favourite porn games are going to come back as freebies with internal paid shops. Again, through different payment processors that charge slightly higher prices. But you'll be able to get the basic game free, just like Ubisoft games. Now, one of the biggest arguments against AI Robot is it teaches men not to consent. And that is the most ridiculous argument. Now, I think the biggest argument against robots is the union. I don't think they're exaggerating. I'm not sure if it was the Teamsters, but it just, in my research, many unions are quoting the same figure. Within this year alone, they expect 93 million people to lose either full-time employment or by being reduced. So either being reduced to part-time employment, but most, if not at least half, are going to be fully unemployed within 5 years. So most likely, the majority are going to lose their full-time employment. Most will be, however, only reduced to half or less work hours. For everyone involved. But the reality is, they're doing it in China. They're doing it in India. There is no worldwide convention to preserve jobs. India is willing to undercut every American job. In fact, India has publicly stated they want every American factory, every American product to be Indian made. They want everything Indian made. They've invented nothing and they want to take everything. And so many people are willing to give it to them. Now, the problem is, the people who are willing to give it all, hand it all over, are just, again, are the people who didn't invent the products. They didn't build factories. All they care is, oh, it's going to hurt the billionaires. Ha, I'm going to put them out of work. Ha. And then, yeah, because, again, selfishness is universal. Now, the state of robotic technology is in itself putting people out of work for quite some time. But as mass production rose in, say, automobiles and robotics in the auto industry and other industries, there are limits on those. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were limits on AI content to come in the future. But first, the government has to see how big the problem is, and that's what I expect. So after this year, if it does in fact reach such high numbers of unemployment, definitely. But one thing you cannot do or force, and this is where women are panicking, it's too late. Women walked away from men. The few women left, men are walking away from them because they are unrealistic in expectations. They're unreasonable in their relationships. They lack manners. They lack self-respect. A lot of in some areas, over half of them have a venereal infection by age 25. And No, I'm not saying all or most. Okay, I'm saying in some areas now you can find up to half the female population under 25 already having venereal diseases. You have, in some cases, men over 60 walking away from women because the majority are snakes who have multiple boyfriends, only engage in short-term relationships, and have multiple infections. Now, the development of these robots, of course, and right now, a lot of robots are still experimental. There's still big players who have displayed robots in the past, but still not marketed anything other than an industrial bot. But for now, robotics seems to be the high end of the market, and the Chinese dominating at the low end of the market with what they call AI-powered wife bots. And these AI-powered wife bots, well, I can't show you because their front page has nudity. It would get me struck off YouTube. But if you look at IIO Technologies, they are the leaders in China on, and there's also IIO Technologies, which is the leader of wife bots in India, but they predominantly produce anti-drone technology. But they do have a bot named Eva, but it's experimental. Don't bother. Now, Star Perry, STARPERY, run by a guy named Mike Lee, claims to have shipped thousands of these robots. He's got hundreds of people in his community. There's a few robots in his community pictured. Some of them are clothed, many of them clothed. Again, I suspect many of his happy customers are just happy to have something to sit on the couch. There does not seem to be anything other than majority of them seem to be posable dolls, and the AI is questionable as well. I think it's just a novelty, and again, in the early stage of technologies, early adopters end up buying them for the novelty factor and are soon bored and move on to the next big thing. But soon, right, for now, there are hundreds of companies, but for now, right, you're going to be split into the silicon doll makers like Fendong in Vietnam and the middle range robots like Aria or from robotics, and then you have your Eva doll. Now again, you have your $2,000 robots, your $8,000 to $10,000 to $40,000 to $20,000, and then you have the robots that start at $20,000 but go up very quickly to over $100,000. Now, here's my understanding from studying economics and business. Once upon a time, there was a shoe company. They were the richest shoe company in the world. Royal Chartered Shoes. They made English leather shoes for the British royalty and many other royalties. You have seen the leather loafer. Once upon a time, they were only made by one company, and they were the richest shoe company in the world. Low-end competition killed them because all they did was make a high-end product. It's like Porsche. Yeah, Porsche is a multi-billion-dollar company, but only because now it has a racing team. It has some brand shops around in a few places around the world, and it has spread its luxury car business across multiple countries, and it does have a few entry-level sports cars, but also it has, where its main money is, it spread its technology, as have other sports car companies, enabled them to stay in the narrow end of the market. But the English leather shoe company, they put themselves out of business by staying in the high-end market and ending up only catering to a few hundred customers a year, buying $800 shoes at a time when you need to sell thousands to be the richest shoe company in the world. And Chinese and Vietnam shoe companies are pumping out, 1 million Nikes. Yeah, believe it or not, your rubber sole sneaker was not invented by Nike, by the way, or Adidas or any of them. The tennis shoe, I think Adidas did invent the tennis shoe, but once their patent on design ran out, everybody made them. It's the same with the leather shoe company. Once the people realised this patent had expired, because that patents can and do expire and be not able to be renewed, because government wants competition to drive down prices. Now, what happened to all these craftsmen who made leather shoes? Well, most of them had to find other jobs, whereas the few good craftsmen in the world, yes, still make handmade leather shoes, bags, etc. They branched out. So, with these AI robots, I predict that some of your big players, unless they start producing entry-level models, are going to find people are going to just be happy with a $2,000 doll and your ChatGPT companion, and eventually someone's going to plug the two together if they haven't already. But as for the love side, I think men are going to love the peace. I think men are going to love the fact that they can sit down and play a video game and know if they ask to make a sandwich, the robot will go do it. If you're tired and weary, the robot will pick up on your cues and learn not to disturb you or to come wait upon you. The robot is going to alleviate so much of your stress. And as for the end of humanity, that's up to women. Women have made it clear they don't want babies. They've made it abundantly clear with 3, 4, 28 abortions. That all they want is to be a love doll, but they're an expensive, unreasonable proposition according to most men. Now, yes, I think there are men who are married to women and understand that she's going to be that you've grabbed the tiger by the tail. But some men still love the challenge, the thrill, the competition. So that's where it's at. Will robots end humanity? No. It will transform humanity. But here's the thing that I'd like to put to you. If you're going to the stars, would you really want to trust your crew, who can only swab the decks and restock the vending machines, to fix your star drive, which is complex technology, which expects demands exacting mechanics? You look at ships today. You look at that cruise ship that was featured on the news recently. Looks like its decks hadn't been swabbed in a while. You're going to trust the laziness of humanity with your future, Or would you like a crew of robots that can, yes sir, on it sir, fix your, or even just keep your star drive running? Because eventually the mere challenge of creating a star drive is right now having potential Elon Musks out there approaching their governments in India and China and trying to put together technological teams. They've seen what X and Starlink has been able to achieve, even though Elon didn't start X, with Grok, between Grok, SpaceX, and Starlink. There are now 3 startups in India, half a dozen in China. They're all likely going to the Chinese companies are likely going to be merged into a state enterprise eventually. That's what's happening with the Chinese economy, by the way. A lot of reason why companies are leaving is because they've been forced to transfer, or forced to merge with or transfer with technology to their Chinese competitor. China is not going to recognize foreign intellectual property rights. Yet they want to enforce their own, right? So these realistic dolls are going to transform humanity, whether you like it or not. And as for the nagging bats, the doll companies are going to outlive them. They're billion-dollar companies now, okay? And there's no reason to think that a handful of witches who, with a W, YouTube, who are never anything but perpetually unhappy. So, yeah, they're going to outlive Collective Shout. Even the youngest member, I think, is over 30, according to their bios. So, yeah, these companies, these fledgling companies for the last 20 years have gone from hand casting and hand molding silicon dolls to now building robotic frames for posable dolls. Some of them are now incorporating AI and articulated skeletons. So you think in 20 years' time what they're going to be like, and where these perpetual angry organizations with a handful of members are going to be left, because in 20 years over half of them are likely going to die of old age. So the robot company does not worry about the bands. It's going to a bandwagon, of bands like the porn industry has, which again I sincerely believe was funded by OnlyFans to get rid of competition. But that's just the conspiratorial me. But there are genuine anti-pornography people out there. I've yet to meet one who isn't a religious fanatic, but that's beside the point. There's no problem. I do not have a problem with religion. I have a problem with fanatics, whether they be political, religious, or just psychotic, because it often ends up, a blur. But with robotics, this is not going to solve the population crisis, but it's going to get a lot of men happy. It's going to take a lot of care of a lot of elderly, and for the governments right now, that's all they're looking at. And they're not going to listen to Collective Shout, Code Pink, and all of a sudden, all that political capital that the Greens had in Europe, they're going to run into a big, thick wall of no thank yous when they start going against the robots. Because I believe the European Union will start trade embargoes on the United States and start assembling, and will turn to increasing robotics. And they'll start getting rid of their freeloaders. Because remember, for every African worker, there's 3 unemployed. So, yeah, not worth the hassle. Again, it was a cheap alternative to your, robots are a cheaper alternative. Africans were a cheaper alternative to your average European layabout. Now again, it's because of Marxism, who spread cultural nihilism through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I was in Europe in 89. I saw the news, and they were talking about the cultural malaise then, where the youth wouldn't get a job. So this is why there's migrants in Europe, because European youth, the very elderly complaining today, a lot of those were lazy youth, who just wanted to, take a free government-sponsored holiday and travel around Europe and expand my education. What have they done? Have they created anything? Has any of these great artists produced anything in the last 40 years? So, no, I have no sympathy for Europe. I have no sympathy whatsoever. But the fact that they are pulling themselves up by the bootstraps, and whether or not that requires them to cut ties with the United States, it's a good thing for the US. But I don't think a trade embargo would work. I don't think self-reliance will work either. I think Europe is going to be tied to the United States or enslaved by China. And again, Europe missed the boat. They could have tied themselves to the United States and Russia, had all of Eastern Europe and possibly even Iran and parts of the Middle East, and would have been the largest trade alliance with the US-Europe trade alliance. You wouldn't have had a hostile Iran. But Barack Obama and Bill Clinton are such short-term nandy-pandies who claim they're all about peace, but never made one solid, lasting peace deal in their life. And so the robotics industry that could have been dominated since the 80s by America is now gone. But, again, short-term gain. So robotics is been around for a long time, and it is transforming humanity. So whether or not robotics wives will make a positive impact is up to you, but I believe it will. If anything, it'll get a lot of women to pull the stick out of their ass, but it'll also give a lot of men something they need. Someone to make them a sandwich! Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel. You can support the channel in a number of ways. Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. I appreciate each and all of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.